Hello and welcome to another episode of For the Love of Sports. My name is Michael Rasile. This is a show where I get to talk about sports, I get to talk about business, and I get to talk about everything in between. Today, my incredible guest, I have Sener Korkusuz. He's the CEO of the A7FL, the American Sevens Football League. Sener, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me, Michael.
Love it. Doing awesome. It's a good day to be alive. It's a beautiful Tuesday. A little rainy up here in the Northeast, which kind of stinks, and a little chilly, but I'll take it. I'll take it. We've had such beautiful weather. What's the worst that can happen? Sener, very excited to have you on. Very excited to learn about a new football league. I'm a big football guy. Love betting on it. Love playing fantasy football. So maybe we'll get the conversation a little bit later. But the first question I have for everybody on the For the Love of Sports podcast is, why do you love sports so much?
Yeah, obvious question. Sports are fun.
That's easy.
That's why I played sports when I was younger. So I played football, I played soccer, so team sports and individual. I ran track, the team aspect, that there's kind of a shared goal. When I was younger, it might have been more about, and my mindset was not exactly straight. It was more about getting the trophies and getting the medals. But as I got older and I get into business, you realize it's more about the end game, the success. As a consequence of that, the side effects will be the money and etc., or the medals and the trophies. So that's the side effects. And so very similar to sports is business. And so you want to be successful, you got to want it like you've never wanted anything before.
Absolutely. Positive side effects too, right? Usually you use side effects and we consider it negative, but I don't know. Those are some pretty awesome side effects. I wouldn't mind having a couple of those. And
Right.
you bring up the team aspect of it, right? And I think that's something really, really important. So I just started a job recently and learning kind of how to work into a team, kind of coming into a, quote unquote, new locker room to meet new people and understand how all these things work together. How did you utilize what you learned, from a young age in sports and football and soccer, as you said, learning about the team, and how were you able to take those lessons and be able to project them on yourself years and years and years later when you do come into these business type settings?
That's a good question. I think a lot of it is second nature and kind of innate, as just a side effect of being a part of a team. It's just kind of an effect that you learn to work with people. You learn to kind of come together for the common good. And you have to do the same in business, not to mention the leadership aspect. So typically on the football field, that's your quarterback. But any of those positions can be a leader on the field. It's really who is going to step up and be that positive influence. So that's a big part of being a CEO as well. And in the end, one of the biggest things, the leader as the coach of the team, and you have to make the right decisions. And there might not be a ton of them, but when they do come up, you have to be right.
You have to be right. Sometimes you could be wrong. You could pivot. Things are different. Things
Right.
change, but I understand. So when did you know that you wanted to work in sports, right? So many people, sports is the outlet. Sports is the after. It's like, okay, done with work. Can't wait to watch the Mets Jacob deGrom pitch tonight, right? That's kind of my, whole thing. When did you know that you wanted to work in sports, though, and understand this is essentially 24/7 type of industry to be in, right? It's not, the normal 9 to 5, if there is even one of those anymore. What was that? Was there a point in your life? Was there something that happened where you had a job and you're just like, I hate this shit. Like, I want to go do what I love. Like, what brought you back to working in sports?
So for me, it was about 2014, and I had already started a successful tech company. I was over 10, 15 years into that company and looking for my next venture and my next opportunity. So I was in a kind of a very fortunate and blessed position. And out of all the things that I looked at, and there were a number of them, it was the recreational football league that my old high school and my old childhood friend Ryan DePaul had put together in New Jersey, where we both grew up, where we played no pads tackle football together. We even played Pop Warner together. So football was a big deal in our group, in our childhood, in our towns, in the neighboring towns. And out of everything I was evaluating, that struck me like nothing ever struck me before. It was my destiny from then on, and it has been. And I knew I was going to get involved in this, and I went and I set about making that deal to make that happen. It took 3 months. It took intense convincing. He didn't want to do anything. So it goes to show, when you want something that bad, you're going to make it happen. And so, once we got around to starting the American Sevens Football League and putting a brand on it, it just took off. And I've been hooked ever since.
That is awesome. So I guess if you don't mind, can you pull the curtain back a little bit? Like, was this an offer that someone came to you? Was this you looking and you were like, hey, wait, I remember doing this? And was it, as you said, there was a lot of convincing to do. So was that you convincing them? Was that them convincing you? Was there a little going back and forth? Because I think that part's really interesting, especially, coming in as, not, I don't want to say like outsider. That kind of sounds a little weird, right? But like, you're coming in, there's founders, there's co-founders, there's people that have been running this thing. And you're like, hey guys, I really want to help. And I think I do a kick-ass job at running this thing. Like, how do those conversations start, go, and eventually end where everybody's in a happy situation?
Yeah. And so a big part of it was already the relationship that we had built over our childhood. And so we had already a great respect and a loyalty for each other. I don't think we would have been able to put a partnership together otherwise, because the last thing I had to say to him before we formed our partnership, and Ryan, if you're listening, and I said to him, because I knew it with such a conviction that this was my destiny and I needed to be a part of this to make it. And I said, you will not be a success without me. You will not succeed in this I know it. Together we can do this. And that was the clincher. It was a lot of convincing on my side, because I wanted it that bad. And like nothing ever before. It was just, it's once in a lifetime. Hopefully it can happen again. But once is enough with this type of thing.
It's a pretty great way to end a conversation, right? Like, that's a mic drop if I've ever heard one. I think that's pretty awesome. And I guess, so what is it about this league? What is it about this opportunity that you knew, it needed you, but more importantly, you needed it? Where is this back and forth coming from, and why did it happen?
So out of the things I looked at, this had the biggest upside potential. Just not just the biggest, but worldwide potential, Olympic dreams potential, that this could be an Olympic sport someday, because this is the way everybody's played football in their youth. This is the way people play on Thanksgiving. This is the way either you played or somebody who's played, and such great memories are tied to it. So after the few professional opportunities are taken up, there's just nothing available for guys to still get really the exposure and they can still play flag football, other semi-pro football. You're not going to get the entertainment value that we get in the A7FL, because it's just such an exciting new sport. All of those things together, I was hooked on from day one. I knew it would take a lot of work though. And, so 7 years later, now we are, and a lot of great things have happened just in the last year or two.
And I'm excited to get to the last 18 months, let's call it, because I don't know, some stuff's been going down. We'll get to it a little bit later, but I am curious. Talk to me a little bit about the league. Like, why is it so entertaining? What are you guys doing that's different? As you said, it's no pads tackle football. Sounds pretty dangerous, but I know you guys are taking some very, very strategic steps specifically to avoid concussions and everything you need to do there. So I guess give me kind of the elevator pitch, the rundown. Let the people out there know kind of what you guys are working with.
So first reaction is, wow, these are barbarians. This is barbaric. These are crazy guys. But football insiders have been saying all along, take off the helmet, take off the face mask, take off the shoulder pads, remove the invincibility, eliminate the repetitive head-to-head helmet contact, eliminate CTE, or drastically reduce it to virtually and practically zero. Why? Because you watch our guys, similar to rugby, they're protecting their heads as they go into the tackle by instinct, called risk homeostasis. You're going into a collision, you're protecting your body, you're keeping your head out of the equation by instinct. all of these things combined, plus other key rule changes, we're 7-on-7 still, like other passing leagues and flag type of football, but full contact tackle. We eliminate kicking. Our quarterback does a self snap, so he doesn't take one more exchange from the center. We have a 3-on-1, most unique form of special teams, safer special teams, and most exciting play in football, where one guy is receiving the ball, 3 are on the throwing side, and he has to try to run it back. So key rule changes, removing the helmet is really the big part.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. And yeah, you bring the comparison to rugby, and that's, if you compare it to football, right, just like the traditional NFL college that we watch on Saturdays and Sundays, that sounds ridiculous. But then if you think like, hey, there's been a sport that's been around, a little bit longer, and they haven't had nearly the same kind of troubles that the NFL has had, especially at least with PR and media when it comes to head injuries. I think it's a really easy one-to-one to make, right? And there's rugby sevens, so we know that game's a little bit faster. It's a little bit more open space, so that makes sense on that end as well. So I guess with that, there have been, we've seen the XFL twice now, and I think we're going to see it a third time. We saw the AAF a couple years ago, which was just a disaster. The USFL actually had like a shot, and then some guy, random guy, I don't know if you guys have heard of him, he took a charge, and they made the mistake of trying to go up against the NFL. We all know that wasn't going to work, and it didn't. What is it about your league? What is it about this league, the A7FL, the American Sevens Football League, that you think this could be the one that breaks through? Because year in and year out, we see another football league come up, and we see another football league come down. Now, again, you've been around for 7 years, so you guys are doing something right. But talk to me, convince me. Why are you guys going to stick around for the long term?
So I think the obvious thing is there's only so much professional football available out there. You're only going to have so many guys who are paid to play football. After that, the 99.9% of everyone else who wants to play football has no options. They're not going to get paid to play football, at least not professionally today. What they will get is a chance to get huge exposure, be on Sports Center, be on Bleacher Report, be a star of our league, get PR behind them, and all they have to do is pay to play, a small fee. And that's what the secret is. Our athletes pay to play, and they get unbelievable, tremendous exposure, and will continue to elevate that exposure year over year, because there is just not enough opportunity out there for guys to get paid to play football. Now you come into our league and we have prize money. So there's a rainbow and a pot of gold at the end for the championship team. It's a small fee. You get your uniform. You get to be a part of a brotherhood and keep your passion alive. But a bigger part of this is the exposure and the press and publicity around it, because you could be you were a hometown hero. You played in high school. You went to college or not yet. And for various difficulties and circumstances, you weren't able to continue. And we can help you keep that alive. And it saves a lot of guys. There's such thing as depression. There's such thing as, tremendous difficulties that guys go through, and they come and they play on Sunday and it alleviates, and they forget about it. It's a heaven send.
I mean, obviously it's fun to play, right? Like at a minimum, it sounds like it's not a rec league, obviously, but like it's something like I pay to play in a rec league. Like
right.
we Thursday nights I play in a beer league softball league. I don't get anything for that. It's just fun. It's something to do. It's something I enjoy doing. So it makes sense that there's obviously adults out there that miss playing the sport that they've probably played since they were 7, 8, 9 years old. So that's, 10-ish, 15 years potentially of their life that they spent doing it, and they want to just keep playing. So worst case, that's awesome. But the idea that you've kind of spun it from, hey, instead of we pay you, you're going to pay us, but we're going to give you an unbelievable exposure. How did that? That's a really interesting business model. How did that come about? Was that the idea that you had when you were having those conversations originally to become the CEO? Was that something that built up over time? Because you don't just automatically get that exposure, right? You kind of have to earn it. So how did you go about kind of navigating those waters, especially in the beginning, to where you are now, where you have however many hundreds of thousands of followers and I guess all 110 million views across however many social platforms? how did you get to that point to have that pitch? Because that's a great pitch for someone that, you know, hey, like, I need that exposure. I want that exposure. Obviously, we know social media marketing is one of the biggest pieces of marketing now, digital especially. So how did that evolve into what it is now?
Great question. And you're asking a lot of
A
great
little
questions.
long-winded. I'm getting better, I promise. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I almost forgot what the question was. No. It is an evolution, mostly as a function of being a bootstrap startup, right? And not starting the business like the XFL or the AAF or the other number of leagues that you mentioned that have failed in the past, paying players multi-million-dollar business operations. So we've started bootstrap funding it ourselves. The first 5 years, all we did was focus on national and international attention. We went viral every year. And each time we went viral, we pick up a million, multi-million views and hundreds of thousands of followers over that time span. So that's what brought us to the point where it's just added up over time. And now it's brought us to a huge milestone where finally we're able to expand with new owners, right? We're just launching our application process for new division owners. We own 4 divisions: Florida, California, New Jersey, and Maryland. We're going to have 4 new divisions in 2022. Potentially, we'll have a huge East versus West Coast championship at the end of that. We'll be including Los Angeles. We'll be including potentially Boston, Massachusetts, Cincinnati, Ohio. So there's a lot of interest in expanding the A7FL. We can't just expand across the country in one season, and step by step we will, though, and we will get there.
I like that. So how do you, so you've gone viral so many of these times. You brought up Bleacher Report, you brought up Sports Center. Have you been able to develop partnerships with some of these media outlets? Because now we're kind of starting to see like these media companies are starting to be the drivers behind many of these things, right? We just saw, and obviously we can't compare it, but the NFL just signed $100 billion or whatever it is in just media rights, right? So how are you getting the word out to the people outside of those viral videos that happen every so often? Because you can't really plan for that, right? How do you get the content out? How do you get this out? Are you going through media outlets? Are you just live streaming everything for free? Where can we watch this? Because I'm here in New Jersey. I'm sure there's a team not too far from me, but I've never heard of this before.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Still, so many people haven't heard of us. We're still kind of an emerging new sport. Over the years, each of those outlets have come to us for our content going viral, and as a result, we've made a few of those partnerships where those outlets are using our content regularly. Wave Sports is one of our big partners right now, who owns Jukes and a few other accounts, multi millions of followers, and that helps continue to spread the word.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a small world, the sports market. Through our network, we're able to kind of shop our rights around, and so we'll be doing that again as we move into next season. This season we are with Fight TV. So that was a huge partnership for us, and it's turning out to be a huge success. And so 2022, we can have, who knows who we'll be with. And, sky's the limit, and hopefully you'll be seeing us not only in person, but on TV as well.
I like that. I'll cross my fingers, man. I think it is really cool. And again, it's a huge opportunity for athletes, right? It's a huge opportunity for the opportunity for business, right? That's why we're here, sports and business. And I think it's just really cool, kind of, again, how you've been able to kind of flip that script a little bit, rather than it being, hey, we're going to pay you. It's you're going to pay us, but we're going to give you this huge amount of exposure, which you're not going to get anywhere else, which can be worth way more than that $25,000 contract that you would have signed, right? If you're savvy about that. So that's actually interesting. Do you guys have like anything in place to help these players understand the opportunity that comes with going viral, with getting this many views? Like, do you have people in place to help with marketing deals? Is there anything you're doing on that end, sponsorship wise, to help, these players even further understand the opportunity that's in front of them?
That's a great question. And so I'll be honest, the majority of the athletes that we see are focused on playing football
Mhm.
and their passion for the game and winning at any given Sunday. The minority of the guys who also are kind of entrepreneurial, many of the guys are, but you know, at the same time, they're focused on football.
Mhm.
Um, but you know, we are developing those programs, so we will have those outlets available. We'll be developing those processes and kind of having courses and classes, so we can start to educate our athletes on the do's and don'ts of social media, etc. And you're right, there is opportunity there to take advantage of, whether in building your profile, whether in building your network, and taking advantage of the PR opportunities.
Yeah, I think it could be huge, and that seems like one, go after one of those buffer companies or Sprout Social, one of those that help businesses with their social media. Go after them. That's a sponsorship deal waiting to happen. You provide the content, give us a couple extra bucks, bing bang boom, everybody's happy. Not too bad. You're welcome. Take that one to the bank. You can have that one, Shenner. I don't even need it. I guess so. With that, like, how was? I mean, it sounds like the pandemic wasn't too bad for you guys. If you're able to open up to, have 4 new divisions, I think you said, right? You're gonna have a couple more teams obviously come in the league. What was the last 18 months like? And how were you able to take advantage of it? Because I always like turning a negative into a positive, right? I was able to write a book in those 18 months, which was awesome. Super cool. Go buy it. It's $1 on Amazon, Winning in Sports Business. But what were you able to do during that time to take advantage of the, quote unquote downtime that a lot of people were having to get to the point where, vaccines are rolling out, people are starting back in the stadiums, everything's starting to look like it's shaking back free again, to where now, like, you can have multiple new divisions and teams coming in. Like, what were you guys able to do to take advantage of the situation?
Yeah, so we were growing during the pandemic. We brought in an awesome sponsor, Salus, which is developed by Oz Technologies, which is a COVID testing solution. So we tested our athletes through our sponsor support, not only the physical testing, but the management and tracking
Hmm.
into our venues. So Salus was huge for that. So perfect timing once again. COVID hits, we pick up COVID testing sponsor, perfect timing. And then through our investment campaign with Start Engine, we had funding to continue to improve our production, continue to improve our sponsor sales, and build the rest of our business. 2020 was a successful season through COVID. We had a condensed season. 4 teams were involved, and we had a champion at the end of the season, and that built into this 2021 season, which has been the best for us so far. Best production ever, best network distribution partnerships, best sponsorship, best player registrations across 4 divisions. Now we started 2 new divisions within 1 season, and that proves now that new ownership can come in and follow our model, follow our business plan, follow our expertise and experience that we'll be sharing and providing all of this.
Oh, I lost your audio.
Sorry, I had a call come through.
All good. You're back.
So follow our model, and then they're able to replicate that in our market, in their market, excuse me. And so
I
that's
love
what
that.
we'll see in 2022. By the championship, July 18th, we'll be announcing those 4 new division owners.
Very cool. Very cool. That is, congratulations, Shannon. That
Thank
is
you.
absolutely incredible. And I guess I'm kind of curious, like, right, you're talking about some sponsorships, you're talking about some network partnerships. Obviously, production needs to grow. The better it looks, the more people, hey, I can't watch like highlights from the 90s anymore. I mean,
Right.
I grew up with that, but I can't watch that anymore. It looks like crap. Like, give me the HD, right? So I guess I'm kind of curious, how do you make sure that you're not growing too fast? Because that is a huge downfall of a lot of companies. Like, everything looks good, people want to start throwing money at you, you start getting all this money, you need to find a way to spend it, you spend it, and then you're kind of, you head over your skis, which is always a problem. How are you making sure, now this has been over 7 years, so obviously you guys have had some time, but how are you making sure that, as you said, 2 divisions last year was great, is 4 going to be too many? Or I'm assuming there's some market research done with that to make sure that's the perfect amount, but how do you make sure you're kind of pacing yourself where investors still want to keep giving you money, sponsors want to keep giving you money, but you don't want to get too far out ahead where everything starts to go to shit?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's a natural process of building a league that's expanding across the country. You just can't expand across the country in one season. It has to be step by step, because there's a tiered structure as it comes into the playoffs and comes into the championship, and all of that's a function of the budget. So when you double it, you're double or triple the budget or quadruple at that point. So we're not going to quadruple the number of divisions that we have from season to season. We're taking it step by step, and like you said, we did do that research. We're comfortable with the 4 divisions that we currently own. We're going to bring 4 new ones on. We might even sell 1 or 2 of our existing divisions if we have the opportunity. And so we're going to get out of owning the divisions, and we'll be handing them off to our operators who will really kick ass and focus and be a part of their local communities, where we're the national and international broadcast arm. And we're going to get the word out and make sure everybody has a spotlight on them.
Yeah, I think it's really cool, again, the way that you're looking at this. And I'm kind of curious from that community standpoint, as you said, maybe you're going back to your old town where you were the high school, football hero, and you were incredible. And then, as you said, over time, just unfortunately didn't get to, make it to, getting those paychecks, but now you can come back and can do that again. How are you straddling that line of, as you said, national and international, but at the same time, making sure, because it sounds like being extremely community focused is very, very important, and really honing in on a very local opportunity. How do you kind of straddle both of those, the local and the national, with those actual storylines people from anywhere would care about versus those storylines that people from, my town in New Jersey that will really care about?
So there's no shortage of hunger for sports, live sports, and sports entertainment. On the local level, you have your regional sports networks. On the national level, you have your national cable networks. So we have a combination of both of those, just by nature of having an awesome football league, America's favorite sport. Your local heroes will be seen from week to week on the local regional networks. As we get into the national playoffs, the national championship will be on the national cable networks. Throughout the season, we'll be having a red zone style production where we're able to look in across the country on each division and the progress and the stars as they're developing from season to season. It's just going to be amazing.
Red zone is my favorite thing to do for 10 hours on a Sunday. So you
Michael,
definitely
I
hit the nail on the head.
apologize because I'm seeing my bars on my battery. I might have to run and get my charger. So I just want to give you a heads up.
All right. I have like 2 more questions. Do you think we can make it through those
go
2
ahead.
questions? All right.
I have 3%.
We'll make this quick
it.
then. So my favorite thing about football is fantasy football and betting. I'm not gonna ask a question, I guess. I'm just gonna say that and see what you have to say.
2 areas we want to desperately get into. It's a process. It's a build. So we've built the league to this point. We're expanding now with the ownership, bringing these. So there's a technical aspect of this, the statistics solution provider, multiple we've spoken with, so that we're in the process of discussions at the moment. And then tying that with, as you mentioned before, these media companies that are so big a part of this, that are starting their own sports books, etc. It's the perfect storm, the perfect timing for us. And with the right partnerships, if you're listening, Dave Portnoy, and company, we're here and we can make it happen together.
I love that. Let's bet on some A7FL, American Sevens Football League. Sener, where can everybody find you? Where can everybody find everything they need to know about the A7FL? Because, as you said, championship's coming up in a couple days. Let's watch it.
Thank you, Michael. A7FL.com. On Instagram, we're at A7FL. On Twitter, we're at the A7FL. And Facebook at A7FL. Also, check us out if you're interested in investing in football at startengine.com/A7FL.
I love it. Sener, No, I don't got it. You got. I told you I
Korkusuz.
can. Korkusuz. There we go. Sener Korkusuz is the CEO of the A7FL. This was awesome, man. Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Pleasure. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.